All right. Thank you very much. Ed Ponsi here, your FX educator here on behalf of FX Street once again. And just checking in with you. Just if you missed our earlier session, do please check it out on the archives. We set up Euro Swiss here. This is a setup based on really all the geopolitical events that are going on in Europe right now. Lots of fundamental stuff going on out there. This is a very nice technical setup, but it also is very much in tune with the fundamentals of what is happening in Europe right now. Really, you could see, we are going to see an election. We could see Article 50 triggered this week. We have already seen an announcement of another referendum this week, potentially. So there's just so much stuff going on over there, a lot of risk. And I'm leaning toward money flowing into the Swiss franc because, gosh, that's, it's not a hard bet to take, quite frankly, that money would flow into the Swiss franc under these circumstances. Okay. So hope everyone is doing well out there. I hope you had a great weekend. We're bracing for a blizzard here on the East Coast of the United States. I see Carlos over there. Hey, Carlos, are you ready for the foot of snow that we're about to receive? Anyway, hopefully it's all going to melt soon. So I've got the snowblower ready to go. And get it. The key is getting everything where knowing where everything is before you need it. Know where the snowblower, the shovel, the gloves, the hats, the boots, and the candles, the flashlights, the batteries, all that stuff. Make sure you know where it is before you need it, just in case you do need it. Okay. All right. So anyway, let's get down to business here. So we were talking about the dollar earlier. It was kind of interesting that the dollar really failed to do anything based on a pretty strong non-farm payroll report on Friday. The dollar drooped downward. We'll see if that's a temporary thing. We saw a little bit of continuation down toward 101 this morning, but the dollar has bounced back a little bit. Carlos, of course, is long Aussie New Zealand, so we got to take a look at that. Aussie New Zealand smashed through resistance, and look at that daily candle on Aussie New Zealand. That's another new high. That has the look of of a flag pattern. As I pull that up, and looks like I lost all my notations there, but I know this was the area of resistance right here. All these wicks, and we just kind of pushed right through there, right? Smashed through, and then the pullback, and that pullback looks like a flag to me. Here's what I mean by that. Right, there's part of it. And let's put the top of that parallel. I don't know why I can't draw a parallel line. Let's put another one on top. Okay. So do you see that thing that looks like a flag? This is your flagpole. This is the flag. And then boom, there's your breakout. So we can measure this. The flagpole itself, I would say, starts here. So I would say just it roughly runs from 107 to 109. And then that's about 200 pips. And then you would start measuring from here. That's roughly, I'm just eyeballing it, but that's roughly 108.50. So from 107 to 109 is 200 pips. You would add another 200 from 108.50. This should go to 110.50 approximately. 110.50 is here. There's my parallel lines. There'd you go. That's where you went. So according to the flag pattern, which doesn't mean anything, right? It doesn't really mean anything. But according to the flag pattern, you're looking at a target right around here, right about there, right there. This is where it should get to. Of course, if it gets to here, what's going to stop it? There's really no resistance. It should just keep going. But that's a cute little flag, nice and tight, big move up. It's like running up imagine a flag like this. You run up 3 flights of steps, right? And then you catch your breath. And then you're going to run up 3 more flights of steps. That's really what it looks like to me. And really, there's just not a lot to stop it here. If it was going to stop, it was going to get stopped back here. And it just doesn't. It just looks like it wants to keep going. So yeah, I don't see it making a big pullback here. That's a beautiful chart. It's just a beautiful run there. What a move. Good stuff. All right, and as far as so that's a beauty. Aussie USD, of course, USD is much tougher to trade against. USD, look how USD had a similar zone, failed to get through, right? USD had the same situation, but USD is much tougher to crack right now than New Zealand. New Zealand is pretty soft, right? So it's really very similar looking chart. Lots of wicks, but Aussie USD failed, where Aussie New Zealand succeeded, right? As far as New Zealand US dollar, look at this. It actually might be finding a little bit of support. You see this little area down here? There's actually some support down here from December and early January. And it actually might be finding some footing around 69. It actually has stopped falling, but man, that's a lot of red. Man, that's a lot of red candles there. Just New Zealand has just been so weak, but maybe, just maybe, it's beginning to stabilize against the dollar. I don't think it has anything to do with New Zealand's strength. It's just that the dollar. I really do wonder if the dollar strength, though, is coming to an end when I see the reaction in the dollar to the non-farm payroll report. The non-farm payroll report, as we reviewed it, and if you missed it, please check out the archives. The non-farm payroll report was strong, and the dollar reaction is. There's just no way to look at it other than to say it was disappointing. The dollar's reaction to that non-farm payroll report. There's no way to view it other than to say it was a disappointment. Maybe it's profit taking, but somebody big was selling dollars on Friday. Just taking a peek here, we know that Draghi is scheduled to speak shortly. You got to be careful because sometimes the timing isn't always right. Draghi's scheduled to speak in 15 minutes. I'm keeping a close eye on this. It's called Innovation and Entrepreneurship in the Euro Area. So I'm not ignoring this. Let's pull it up really quick. Euro USD 1 minute chart, and just seeing if there's anything out there yet. I know that according to our calendar, it's not scheduled to begin for another 15 minutes, but I think the text might already be out there. ECB's Draghi says he's more optimistic on the outlook for the Eurozone. I think you could have derived that from his comments on Thursday, however, when he said he was, he wasn't really looking to do as much going forward. I would say the risks of deflation have largely disappeared. Okay, so more of the same, I would say. Looks like more of the same. So I don't see anything major coming from this right now. Just thought it was worth a peek. Perhaps we'll keep an eye on this. Of course, Wednesday's the main event. Wednesday is the Fed, and but at this point, I think it would be a shock if the Fed did not raise rates on Wednesday. Correct? All right, so let's take a peek around and see what else is happening. I think we might need to get away from certain currencies right now. Just remember, you've got the dollar. There's so much stuff happening this week in terms of Article 50 probably gets triggered. You've got an election in Europe, in the Netherlands. You've got the Fed. Is there a way we can escape all this? Well, Aussie New Zealand's one way. Right, you're on the other side of the world. How about maybe something like Aussie yen? How's that looking? Try to keep it on the other side of the world. Aussie yen, let's take a peek. Push it back to the daily. Not really trending, but it's a weak trend. How about pound yen? Let's take a peek around. Let's go around the horn here. Trending downward, but again, a weak trend. Peeking around. Let's go around the horn here. What about New Zealand yen? This looks like a short, actually. Look at the short Dr. Copper above 267, says Carlos. We should look at copper. I got to tell you something. The metals are fantastically interesting right now. The metals got creamed last week, but they got hit so hard. You know, anytime that something gets hit that hard, it's kind of scary to go back into it. And when they rebound, you do want to short them if they rebound. We're going to take a look at that. This looks like a short. Look at the topping pattern here. Right, support. This is a pretty big support level here because this was going on for like 3 months, right? November, December, January, February, and finally breaks last week. And you can see a gap after it breaks. Trying to struggle its way back up. Like it would be a dream to short it right at that line. That line is 80.50. I have 80.53. Let's try to put it right at 80.50 and see if that looks good. 80.50 looks good. You can see how this has been support on numerous occasions. It should act as resistance now. Right? So if that comes up to or close to 80.50, it should be a short. What's the problem with shorting this? Can anyone tell me offhand what would be one problem with shorting New Zealand yen? Just without even looking at the chart. Because I don't see anything wrong with the chart per se. The chart looks good. But what would you have to do every day if you shorted New Zealand yen? You wouldn't have to do it personally, but the broker would do it for you, but it would hurt. It wouldn't hurt a lot. It would hurt a little, but it would hurt every day. You have to pay interest, right? The interest rate in New Zealand is, what is it, 1.75, and the interest rate in Japan is going to be 0 or approximately 0. Right, so, this is going to be a drain on your account. If it could end up being in this trade for a long time. Now, listen, if the trade works out, if this thing plunges, then the interest you pay is a small price to pay. But you can't ignore that fact. The other thing is also, Carlos, for example, is already short New Zealand. So You don't want is it okay to be short New Zealand on 2 trades at once? I'm not going to tell you you can't do that, but just be careful to make sure that your entire account doesn't become short the New Zealand dollar, because one of these days people are going to start liking the New Zealand dollar again, and when they do, if your whole account is based on shorting New Zealand dollar, that could be a problem. Right? So we got to be careful about things like that. But technically speaking, there's nothing wrong with this trade. 80.50 looks like a good point to sell. I'd probably look, I mean, you can't put your stop all the way up here unless your target's going to be all the way down here. And that's a long way, but maybe I could put my target above this high. Right. That high is approximately 81.50. My stop's going to probably be a little over 100 pips, but I see potential for 100, 200, 300, 400. There's definitely going to be some support here. The first major support area is 400 pips away. Maybe not 400. 1, 2, close to 300. That's about a 3-to-1. If I have a stop up here, right? Let's say my stop is up here, above this high. And I have a target here. Whoops. We'll just make that blue, make that line blue for a target. Again, this is not a trade recommendation. I don't do trade recommendations. This is I'm just drawing a setup. This is how I do it. I mean, I look at charts and I try to look for opportunities. This is a large top. It's breaking down. And a lot of times, look, if you miss the breakdown, a lot of times they come back and they give you a second chance. I would be looking to sell short right about here. Let's make that green. Stop is red. Target blue, but that's just one target. That's almost 3-to-1. It's not quite, but that's just one target. You can create more targets too. You would have another target way down here. Right? So you definitely have multiple targets. I'm not going to use one target. Right? I would definitely have multiple targets. I would definitely have another target probably down in this area down here. And I hate to shoot for the moon. Like the very bottom of support is asking a lot. I would go above that. This thing bounced up out of here. It's kind of hard to aim this. I want to be above a round number. Maybe above 75 would be good. I don't be too greedy. That's like 5-to-1 right there. I mean, that's really simple. But this is about 2.5-to-1. This is about 5-to-1. There's not a lot. This is the only support level on the chart. This is not a support level. I'm just getting out ahead of a round number. This is the only support level here. I'd probably bump this one up a little bit, maybe put it up just above 78. Get out before support, right? Get out before you encounter trouble. Get out, dump half of it here, half of it here. Dump the whole thing if it comes up over a little bit. This is going to be a little bit over 100 pips. My stop's going to be just above 81.50. My entry's going to be 80.50. My target's going to be just above 78 and just above 75. It's pretty cut and dried. This is better than 5-to-1. And this is 100, 200. This is almost 2.5-to-1. It's not too shabby. Not too shabby, right? The only problem is you got to pay interest on this trade. I hate trades where you have to pay interest because my trades tend to take a long time. I really do favor ones that collect. Let's take a look at Dr. Copper. Copper has been all the metals, right? Let's take a look at gold first. Gold was in this beautiful uptrend, right? And then it broke the trend line right there, and it just got destroyed. Silver, very similar. Beautiful uptrend. I had a great trade on gold. I'm out now, obviously. Silver, great uptrend, got destroyed. Copper had a really nice ascending triangle. And that is done. It really, look, it broke out of it too, right? It breaks out of the ascending triangle, and then it fails, and that breaks down. And you know what happened that causes all of this to break down? And then, oh, and by the way, and oil broke down too. You know, all commodities, not all commodities. That's too broad of a generalization. But it seems like a lot of the major commodities broke down within close proximity to each other time-wise. And, you know, whenever I see that, I start to think, strong dollar. But what happened to the dollar on Friday now has me wondering, because look at that strong dollar. That strong dollar was putting pressure on all those commodities, and I think it finally broke them in a way. I mean, you know, you could point at all kinds of different factors and OPEC and all that, and there was a huge discovery of oil out in Alaska, and all kinds of things, right? But now that this dollar is breaking down, I'm actually wondering if it's not time to buy gold again. I mean, we had a really good trade on gold, and I'm hoping that's not coloring my opinion here, right? But we had a really good trade on gold back here, and I used MACD to get in way back here, right? And I did not use MACD to sell. I used that break in the trend line to sell. But now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, if the dollar is breaking down, it might be time to buy this again. Another indicator we could use here is, man, that sounded loud in my ears. Another indicator we could use, like RSI also gave a buy signal down here. And it gave a sell signal just as this broke the trend line. It did not quite give a buy signal yet, but like, I'm kind of thinking about if gold breaks down, maybe all these commodities catch a bid again. I'm not going to touch. I'm not going to touch oil, but I'm watching the dollar. And with the dollar breaking down as badly as it did on Friday, I'm scared to short metals. I'm not saying Carlos is wrong. I'm just saying I'm scared to short metals. That's all. Because I do think that the fact that all the metals broke down at the same time probably had something to do with the strong dollar. But then the dollar giving up as badly as it did on Friday on good news, what I would perceive as good news, makes me wonder, you know, if the dollar is going to remain strong here. Let's just say the jury's out. Let's just say the jury's out. You know, I'll tell you what I've had my eye on also here is gold miners. Gold miners dropped 20%, right? And then got a buy signal from RSI. And now with the dollar falling, I'm starting to think, oh, I don't know, maybe it's time to buy these things. I mean, it's counter. Does it feel right? I don't know. Maybe I just need to watch, give the dollar another 24 hours or so to figure out if it was Friday just a one-day thing. I've been fooled before by the dollar, and whether or not this is real or not. But man, that reaction on Friday, because I really, we looked at that non-farm payroll report during the first session today, and if you missed our first session, I would encourage you to go back and take a peek at it. But look at that. I mean, that's a bad day for the dollar on really good news. Carlos is saying, yeah, you're making a convincing argument here. And I'm saying, I'm not sure, though. I mean, I'm really not sure. And when I'm not sure, I'm probably not going to do anything. You know what I mean? This red candle is kind of talking me out of shorting any of the metals right now. Okay. Apple might be picking up again. Boy, I'll tell you, it's hanging in there pretty nicely, isn't it? It doesn't want to leave 140. If you look at the overall market, here's the S&P 500. There's your pullback on the S&P, right? Which you can see it. It's not a huge pullback, but you can see it. But Apple, in relation to that, has been, where's the pullback? Apple doesn't want to pull back, right? So I think, yeah, I would have to agree with you there. Apple doesn't seem like it wants to pull back. Very interesting situation. So, Carlos, I have a lot to think about regarding gold. I think today's going to be a day where I'm going to have to contemplate this a little bit, or maybe not contemplate it. It's kind of a Zen thing. Like, maybe just don't think about it at all, and then go back to the charts this afternoon before the markets close, and then see what they look like, and see if anything's changed. Anyway, I believe that's going to wrap up this session. I do want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in and listening. 2 great sessions today. Thanks to everybody's participation, and thanks to everybody who listens on the archives, because I know there's a lot of you out there, and I just want to say thank you for listening. We will be back tomorrow with 2 more sessions, so I hope you'll tune in then. This has been Ed Ponsi on behalf of FX Street. Thank you so much for listening. Talk to you tomorrow. Take care.